you have a stain like here, and also here, and also turn around here, and there's no mirrors in Berghain. So I didn't know how it looked like. And it was just human feces, and it wasn't mine.
So, you might have had some wild clubbing nights in your life, but did you ever get so wild that you obliviously walked around a club with a shit stained t shirt, human shit, mind you, a shit stained t shirt, thinking that you were fabulous, not knowing that you were covered in feces? No, probably not. I imagine that hasn't happened to you. But that is exactly what this week's guest, Santana Sexmachine, managed to get up to in her lost space, Berlin's Greece-muller. And if you're German and you've just heard me say that and I've slaughtered your language, I'm really sorry. If you're not German and you don't speak German, that is precisely how you pronounce Greece-muller. Now, you might know Santana best from her time as a contestant on Sweden's Drag Race, but long before she was gracing our screens, she was this plucky 23-year-old who ran away from her hometown of Stockholm to the bright, bright lights of Berlin in order to figure herself out and get her shit together and become a new person. Sound familiar, right? Now, before we get into it, I just want to say, this is a bit weird to say, but this is episode 250. 250. 250. 250. That's quite a lot of episodes, right? I did not imagine that when I started doing this show in 2019 that I would, first of all, continue to do it, like to have the stamina to do a weekly show, and that I would have learned so much and taken so much from these conversations that I get to have, that I'm fortunate enough to have with different people every week. I'm really so thankful and so happy that we made this milestone. And so whether you have been here since day one or whether you are just a new listener, I just want to say a huge thank you for tuning in and for sitting in on these conversations. And if you want to help ensure that the show keeps running, I would love if you bought me a coffee through buymeacoffee.com. It's this online platform where you can tip creators and people whose work you value. I will include the link in the show notes for this episode. Right, enough of me self-congratulating. My name is Kay Anderson. This is Lost Spaces, the podcast that is all about lost queer spaces and the memories that they left behind. Why don't we get into it? So, why did you run away to Berlin? Sorry, that's me assuming you ran away. Maybe you didn't run away. Maybe you ran towards.
Oh my God, yes. I would say I ran towards Berlin because I wanted to run away towards something new and exciting. I mean, I don't know. I had like a good time in Sweden, but like I moved when I was 23 and I was in desperate need of a change.
Mm-hmm.
I also quickly realized that I didn't really have any future goals and it got me really depressed. And I, thanks to a friend of mine, decided to move to Berlin. It was very close enough to Sweden and
Yeah.
looked fairly similar to Stockholm. And I've been there ever since.
And you just love that breezy, balmy, warm weather, right? That you grew up with.
Exactly. I love the nice Berlin people. Everybody's so friendly here.
Yes, that warm, warm German charm.
As we all
Right.
know.
So you said at 23 that you were leaving Sweden because you didn't really know what was going on for you in your life. Like, where was your head at?
Well, my head was not really anywhere, I think. There was something when like I had graduated high school and I started working in like restaurants, then I got into retail work, and then I guess as I said before, I just realized I didn't have any future goals. I think my head was just like in the gutter and I needed some like
Mm,
quick change. and challenge myself. And this goes out to anybody who's been in their same home country or hometown for a longer time. Like, there's much appreciation to it, and I love Stockholm. I visit very often, but I don't see myself living there forever.
Mm,
There's just something like 23 years in the same place kind of just like does something to you and not necessarily anything good.
interesting. We might pick up on this a bit later. But for now, let's
Yeah.
focus on Berlin. So, was there a plan when you got to Berlin, or was it like, I'm just going to go and I'm going to see what happens?
Well, the plan was to survive. Like, I was so determined to make it happen because I didn't want to come home with my tail between my legs and like say I failed within 2 weeks. But I was destined to make anything happen and make it a good experience. So I was just ready to create a new life. And at the age of 23, that's like a very sensitive age to decide to become an adult.
But it's a
So,
wonderful age, though. It's a wonderful age
yeah,
because you're
it
just
is.
like, I am bulletproof. Fuck you all. I'm going to do this.
Yes, exactly. Oh, God, the fake confidence I had. Where did it go?
I know if only you could like bottle that and keep it going for the rest of your life.
Right.
That like, I'm just going to
Yes,
go and do this and it's going to be fine and there's nothing for me to worry about. Brilliant.
exactly. Exactly.
So, okay, so surviving was the goal. What are your first memories of Berlin?
My first memories was it's very dark quickly and it's very gray everywhere. I did the mistake, I would say, to move in September because I
Uh,
had visited Berlin a couple of months prior in May where it was sunny and it was a good season, everybody was happy, and then moved in September when then October, November, and the same December came. And
January, February, March, April.
yes, the worst timing ever. Move early spring at best. So I was very scared. I was very unaware of what I actually needed to do to live in the country, even though it's within EU. So all I needed to do was get a like a tax number because of
Mhm.
my like just privilege, obviously, and I just like got it. So I was very lucky, but yeah, I was just really scared. But then to try to cover it up with this fake confidence we talked about.
Mm-mm. Okay. And so 23, bulletproof, cocky, full of yourself. Sorry, I'm just, you weren't full of yourself.
It's
Sorry. Sorry.
it's like just reading my old Tinder bio. I love it.
Where were you at that age in terms of your queerness? Like, had you come out? Had you like reconciled living in a heteronormative world and being crushed down by the reality of that?
Yes, I did come out when I was 18, which in many regards this was a kind of a late
Mm,
outcoming, but I was very secure with my sexuality. I have kind of adapted like this queerness within me like throughout the years, even though I was out of the closet or not. And
so why 18 then? Like, why did it take you that long?
I actually did not want to come out. There was a lot of years of denying. Like I started high school and I wanted to be straight.
But why would you want to be straight?
The thing is, I honestly at this point I'm like I don't know. I do not know. Being gay is a great superpower, but I think it's something especially when you're in that stage of life like you're 14, 15, 16. You feel like okay, things are happening to my body and my mind, maybe I can control that before
Mm,
everything hardens and like becomes concrete, and you can't really. But I was always very bullied when I was younger for being
ah,
gay
yeah.
and for being like this. So I thought okay, when I started high school I want to just like be straight, and that was my way of like being an adult.
Oh,
And
okay. Oh, so it was like a conscious decision of
oh yeah.
I'm gonna take my destiny by the balls and I'm gonna
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
become this thing. Ah,
Well, not the
interesting.
balls, because that's gay.
Well, no, it's only gay if you tickle them. If you're grabbing them, it's
That's
fine.
true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, we don't condone heterosexuality. Heterosexuality is a mental disease and should be treated as such.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. Some of my best friends are straight.
I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Um, okay. So you were just like, right, I'm locked in. I'm going to be heterosexual. And how long? did you manage to keep that up?
Not long at all, and I think I mean, for good reasons, like, I mean, you can't really control who you really are,
Mhm.
and, I mean, I had really good support system from friends in high school who I'm still friends with today that kind of dragged me out of the closet, pun intended, and I was kind of in a stage when I was 18 that, like, I had just graduated high school. People kind of know that I'm gay already, and I didn't really want to come out to my family because I have an older brother. He didn't come out as straight, so I felt like it was a bit
Ah, it's like
unnecessary.
a
And I
statement.
didn't want to like do this thing of like, let's sit all my family members down at the dinner table. I have a confession. Like it makes it seem like I'm the problem, where it's literally no one's business.
Well, I mean, it kinda is.
Is it?
Well, maybe not.
Well, how would you elaborate on that?
Let me think about this. Yeah, like, I agree that it's not necessarily their business, but if you want them to know who you are, then it's a key component of who you are, so you should tell them.
Yeah,
And
totally.
maybe it's not an explicit thing of like, by the way, I need to let you know that I'm not heterosexual. And even though your brother didn't come out as straight, he would have said things that led on to the fact that he was. I'm assuming, of course.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think also for a little context as well, I do agree with what you're saying, and I think like it's a good thing to come out. And as soon as I did when I was 18, I did feel a sense of relief.
Mhm.
I just think back then I was a little bit rebellious, and I just felt like, okay, well, I just want to be me,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
don't want to make it a big deal of it, basically. But to each their own.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, I totally understand. And I think that there is that pressure. Yeah, there's that pressure to come out, right? And there's that pressure
Yeah.
to get it right as well, I think, because everyone talks about their coming out as this like big event, this big thing. And so that kind of puts this extra layer onto you of like, oh, I need to make sure I've like dotted all my I's and crossed all my T's before you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, coming out is a very important thing for many people, and I think it is to be truthful to yourself. My coming out was not the best, I would say. It was at the dinner table at my grandma's. My dad had a few drinks, and we had a little internal joke between him and I. He would call me faggot, but in like a jokingly way. And I know
How
that
would
doesn't sound yeah, it's very problematic, I know, but it wasn't it is a slur, but it was, we have a weird relationship.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
No,
he
no,
would
no, of
just
course.
say like, "Oh, pass me the potato salad, faggot." And I was like, "Okay." And my uncle was like, "What the fuck did you call him?" And then he asked me if I was gay, and I said, "Yeah." That was it.
Oh, oh, see that? Yeah, that's the nice way of doing it.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, besides the slur part, but
What is that word in Swedish? Maybe I could learn a new word today.
I mean, it is the same as like if you would say like gay in Swedish is bög, but he would use it like gay fuck, which is like bögjävel.
Bögdjävlar? Yeah, I don't get it.
Bög, it's a B Ö, with like a O
Uh-huh.
with two dots over
With
it.
two dots. Yeah.
G. Yes, so it's bög.
Berg. Berg. Okay.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just humoring me now. I know. Sorry.
Okay,
I'll
perfect.
I'll go away and practice. I'll go away and practice. I
Yeah,
promise.
good.
Wait, hang on. Oh, and so then what were the repercussions of that? Was everyone just like, "Oh yeah, cool, we knew," or was there awkwardness? Was there weirdness?
No, not really. I think it was just more like, okay, now we can finally talk about it. And
Oh, thank goodness! I've been saving all these books that I wanted to lend you, and now I can.
now we can put up all the gay jokes now. Thank God. Collecting dust at this point. It probably wasn't a relief for my family per se, because everybody knew. It was more like, yeah, let him come out in his own pace. But I think it was more like they kind of felt happy that I did come out, which
Mhm.
I think for any family member who has like a sibling or somebody who is in the closet or they think is in the closet, do not pull them out. Like you have to let them take their time with it. But just as long as they feel comfortable and you create space for them to
But
actually come out.
you can leave breadcrumbs though, right?
Yeah. I mean, come on, Hansel and Gretel. I think that's great. You get a little snack afterwards.
Because yeah, I think it's a delicate balance. Because I am not actually against people poking and prompting someone and saying like, "Hey, I think you might be gay. Why don't we have a
Yeah.
conversation about it?" But you have to do it at the right time. And you have to like, the stars need to align, everything needs to work.
Yeah, I think it's just about like sensitivity and it's all with time and place. Like if you have an organic conversation about it, that kind of leads into like, okay, this person feels comfortable coming out. But to be honest, if you have a good relationship with a person, you can talk about basically anything. So if you just create a safe space, then you can put all the cards on the table.
Yeah, yeah. But don't do it in this awkward way of like when you spot someone good
No.
looking in the street, be like, "Oh, he's good looking, isn't he? What do you think about him?"
Yeah.
Because that's just awkward.
Yeah, I don't know how it was for you with coming out. I think that when, I mean, as a kid, we always have this thing. I mean, because born a boy, it's always like, oh, do you find a cute girl in school? Do you have a girlfriend? And blah, blah,
Mm,
blah.
mm, mm.
And I'm happy my mom didn't do that really when older and just asked me if it was like any cute boys and stuff. But we get taught that as kids that this is like a heteronormative way that like, oh, this boy is gonna be like quite lady charmer or whatever. But I don't know how it was for you when you were growing
Ooh.
up. Was it like that also?
No, I don't know. I was like a fat, awkward kid. So I think even if people did assume I was
Aw.
heterosexual, they thought like, "Oh, you're never gonna get any girls because you're ugly."
Oh, that's so sad.
No, it's not sad. It's not sad.
I
I
mean,
don't
this it's
know.
sad that you're saying that about yourself.
But I was a fat, awkward kid.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. But yeah, I think also like, listen, I was also very awkward kid when I was a kid. Like, I think I'm still very awkward in many ways, but I think yeah, just don't put any pressure on kids. Like,
Yeah, yeah, don't.
school is hard enough, and then you're gonna put on some like bullshit thing that like, hey, you got a partner? I'm like, I'm 12. Like, calm down.
Yeah, yeah. All of these things coming out from the US about this groomer thing and how kids don't need to be sexualized at a young age and blah, 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 blah. All the counter arguments to that I'm seeing have really made me interrogate things that happened to me as a child and how sexualized we are from like 3
Totally.
when people are like, "Oh, is that your girlfriend? Is that your boyfriend?" Like, and yeah,
Yeah.
what you've just said, that like, "Oh, you're going to grow up to be a real lady charmer. Oh, you're going to like break some hearts." Like, why are you saying that to a 4-year-old? Like, what the
Yeah.
hell?
God, talk about grooming. That's the true grooming.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But it's just so insidious. It's like everywhere and
Yeah.
no one questions it. And I didn't even question it until the last few years when I've been like, yeah, what the fuck are we doing to kids? Even the heterosexual ones. Hmm. Okay. So you also said that you were kind of alienated at school and bullied at school. And was that just because you're a weirdo, or was that because of your sexuality?
I think
Sorry. I know I only felt comfortable saying that because that's like
it's
something
totally
something that
fine.
I no, but it's something that I wrestle with because I was
Mhm.
ostracized and bullied at school. And yes, part of
Okay.
that was homophobic bullying, but I also just think maybe it was just because people thought I was weird. But maybe I was weird because I was homosexual, and then it's this big circle of spiraling thoughts.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if I look back at my years in school, I think there was a lot of factors to kind of, I wouldn't say justify a being bullied because it's never
No, no.
justifiable to be bullied, but there's a lot of things that I can see that are like, I did not actually want to fit in. I think
Mm,
that's also what you were
mm.
talking about as well. Like, I think if you are in a class with, I don't know, 20 random kids that have no relationship towards you besides just having an education at the same time, then they're gonna solo out like who are the fun kids, who are these kids, who are the weird kids. And I kind of just ended up being the weird gay kid. And instead of like trying to adapt myself too much, I also found a bit of comfort in the discomfort of being the weird one. That's
Yeah.
just like, okay, if everybody looks at me this way, then I might as well just be this way. Then, of course, cut to high school when I was trying to adapt to it. And of course, it didn't work. So
Oh,
it is weird.
but what do you think changed for you? Because, yeah, I have this same thing of like, well, if you think I'm weird, then wait and see how fucking weird I can be, rather than trying to be like, no, no, I'm not weird. I'm not weird. Don't worry. Don't look
Yeah.
at me. I was like, nah, man, let's go for it. But I don't think
Yeah.
that wavered for me, and I don't think that changed. Why do you think it changed for you when you went into high school and decided you were gonna be straight?
Well, I mean, there were many factors to it. I mean, just also backstory. So my parents got divorced when I was 7, and then
Mhm.
I moved up to like a countryside, like off the Motown, with my mother and my sister. And that's when I got bullied a lot, and discovered that I liked drag and girl things, and yeah, also trying to like get into my own. But I was very bullied for it, and then I decided to move to Stockholm to my father, and
Mhm.
I think that's when the process started of like, I need to make changes
Ah.
because if I move now to Stockholm and it doesn't work here and I get bullied, I have nowhere else to go. So that was kind of my
Ah.
mentality, like
Yeah.
survival mode when I was 13. And that's when the insecurity started happening that I thought, okay, I'm obviously not fit for the other kids, which
Mhm.
means that I'm not a good fit for myself. So I try to just change myself. Hence why I tried to change my sexuality when I was 16, but it doesn't
Ah.
work.
But so was it like a, "Oh, I'm new in town. This is a fresh, clean slate. I'm gonna not fuck this up." Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And I
Ah.
think I had the same kind of thing when I moved to Berlin as well. Or maybe that's also the reason why I wanted to move.
'Cause you wanted to be straight?
And look at me now. It turned out great. No, I think what you said about having a clean slate, I think it was something where like I just wanted to get all the confidence and all the things that I've collected in my
Ah.
23 years of life and adapt it to this new place as this new developed person.
Oh, because everyone in Stockholm knew that you were, that for want of a better word, I'm not trying to insult you. Everyone in Stockholm knew that you were flawed, and so you were going to go somewhere where they didn't know you were flawed, that you could be confident and excitable and slay them.
Well, exactly. I think like it's that's what I said before also, like any space that you're in where like a hometown or home country, if you've been there long enough, it becomes very repetitive and it comes I mean, you start to know everybody. And that's kind of what happened in Stockholm. Like you would like maybe flirt with one guy and it's like, oh, but you can't flirt with him because he's friends with him and he's friends with that person. And I'm like, we can't refresh Grinder anymore. Now we just have to move places. So I
Ah.
think that's what happened, maybe.
Do you know, sorry, just a quick sidebar, but you've just reminded me of something. Do you know that in Iceland, because the population is so small and because so many people are related, there's a hotline you can ring to find out if the person that you've just started dating is related to you?
Yeah, exactly. It's wild, but honestly, so smart.
I just don't know what I would do if I rang that hotline and they were like, yes, this is your cousin. Do,
I
do, do.
mean, I mean, I don't know. Maybe move to Berlin.
Yeah, yeah. They really need to do something to increase the population. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about you moving to Berlin, being a 23-year-old, getting away from all the people that you'd slept with. Oh, and one more clarifying question. Where were you on your drag journey by this point?
Ooh, by this point, I had done drag for maybe 4 years, I think.
Ah, okay. So you were
Yeah.
like an established drag artiste. Were you going to do that in Berlin, or was it just like, well, we'll see?
Well, by then, drag was very much a like a hobby, I would say. I had a
Okay.
full-time job. I just did it a little bit on the weekends and like shows here and there with one of my really good friends. And then I had done it for long enough where I felt like I could consider myself established enough that I could perform anywhere. But that's also the 23-year-old with fake confidence. Because
Yeah,
when I
yeah, yeah.
moved here, I thought I was RuPaul. Like, you couldn't tell me anything, which is a superpower that drag gives you, and makes you an asshole. But yeah, I did drag here, and I started, and I think that was a really like humbling experience because you start fresh, basically, and I start on the beginning stages like the rest of us do, and then work your way up.
But so were you like, "Oh, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna show them what it's all about?"
Definitely, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I unfortunately did.
Oh, and then you had to eat humble pie. That's annoying.
I know.
Yeah, that is the one problem about being that cocky 23-year-old, is that it's really easy to come crashing back down to earth.
Yes, exactly.
All it takes is one little trip up and then you're like, "Oh, shit. Oh." am actually crap. I might stay in bed for 5 days.
Definitely. I mean, this goes out to anybody who is like in their 20s or something. Like, you don't have any rush to grow up. Be a kid still while you're still sort of young. Be a young adult. Like, being an actual adult is not fun.
Yeah, and you don't get away with those flights of fancy and ridiculous behaviors when you're older. People are just like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" But when you're 23, they're just like, "Oh,
Exactly.
off you go do it, go see what happens."
Most of the times, yeah.
Okay, and so where were you living when you first moved to Berlin?
So I moved to a hostel called St. Christopher Inn, which
Ah,
is very central around Alexanderplatz. I went there when I just visited Berlin the first time, a couple of months prior to moving. And I had booked myself up for a month there. And I
oh,
decided, okay, I'm going to find a job. I'm going to find an apartment. I'm going to find everything that I need. I'm going to give myself a month because honestly, I don't have that much money to stay at a hostel
yeah,
for
yeah.
longer. So
Or to share a bathroom.
yes, I shared a bedroom with 16 other people, and,
Oh.
I would yeah, yeah, man. And the thing is, it's a hostel, so of course they're coming in and they're like frat boys from Australia who are just gonna, like, go out and party in Berlin while I'm in my little bunk bed studying German. No, so basically, that's what I did, and then I was on Tinder and Grindr to just, like, meet with people. I think my 2nd day I was here, I met one of my really good friends, Jaden, and 3 years later, we moved in together, and, like, we've been friends ever since.
Aw.
But that's what I did, yeah, so I, like, applied for jobs, I, like, did everything that I should do, and then, yeah, I got a job, and they asked me where to send the contract. I said, "Well, I live in a hostel," and they were like, "You have to get an apartment," and I said, "Yes, I know." And then, yeah, I guess, like, I was also very lucky. You need to have a lot of luck with these things,
Mm.
and I 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks later, I had my own apartment, I had a job, I was studying German, and, was living here.
It's so exciting, isn't it? Like sometimes you forget when you like fall into the patterns of your life and you just are going through the motions of what it is you do, that actually you can completely change your life in 2 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also so humbling too to like look back at those times because I was so fearless.
Or you were oblivious, like you just didn't think about all the things that were
Yeah,
wrong
that
about
is
what you were doing.
definitely it. Yeah, 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 for sure. But I think, yeah, I like look back at those times and now I'm like, I get social anxiety when I go to like a crowded bar. And I'm like, well, you moved to Berlin alone when you were 23. Like you can talk to strangers. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, what the fuck is holding you back? Well, and so did you know
exactly.
anyone when you moved to Berlin, or was it you just knew no one?
I knew no one. Well, I did know of people,
Who
like
you'd
friends of
slept with?
friends.
Oh, okay.
I mean, listen, I know my name is Sex Machine, but I don't have sex that much, like, and especially back then. No, so that was the thing. I just went on a lot of dates, and I started like meeting people, and like became friends with like their friends, and just like I'm a people pleaser through and through,
Mm.
and it helps with like new situations like that. And I can really turn the charm on
Oh, oh, but that's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
for sure.
Because the other thing, okay, so this is me projecting here. Tell me
Mhm.
I'm wrong. But in my experience, so I've ran away and moved to new cities twice in my life. And I
Okay.
think probably both times in meeting new people, I was like, if I can fall in love with someone, that will help anchor me in this city and that will kind of make it all worthwhile. So I'm just going to like fall in love with whoever.
Okay, yeah, I feel you on that one actually.
Yeah, there's this kind of mix of emotions, isn't there? You're not just meeting a new person and seeing how it goes. The stakes are much higher when you're in that situation because you don't have any friends. And so you've got this extra layer of motivation to make that friendship work, which means that you can either compromise too much because you're just like, I don't care, I need a friend. You're problematic as fuck, but let's go. Or you can like put too much pressure on that friendship to become something and then just ruin it as a result.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I mean, I was so the thing is I had already prepared myself in primary school to like make friends. So I kind of knew what to do.
What do you do? Tell me.
Well, I actually, this is a friendly reminder that I got from my friend Jaden, who I met here 2 days into Berlin, because I was talking to him at a bar and I said, like, I'm very nervous and meeting new people. And he said, like, most people, if not everybody, loves to talk about themselves. So as long as you ask them questions and you're listening, they will be like, oh, quite nice. Like, just ask me anything. So that really, really helped. I just started having conversations with people and like actually like got to know like really interesting people. People who run away from cults, people who run away from home for different circumstances and stuff. And it really opened up my horizons and eyes to see that Berlin is a melting pot. I said that this is like a grown up playground of Europe.
Mm, mm,
Like people flee here and they get the opportunity to express themselves and play around and go partying and live this little like cool lifestyle. And some people can handle it, some people can't. And I think I was at a good age when I moved here at 23 because it was the same time that a lot of people also decides to move here and like do the things that I was interested in.
mm. Okay,
It was
so
great.
you were all kind of gravitating towards one another.
Yeah, I would say so.
I just want to ask follow-up questions, and I might be belaboring this too much, but the people pleasing element. So I get what you're saying that you just talk to people, ask them questions about themselves, and then that's your way in. What happens there when you want to talk about yourself?
I mean, I can definitely remember when I was younger, I just talked about myself in ways that were comical. I think like that was my way of
Ah,
just like winning people over. Didn't take myself seriously at all, even though I felt things in a serious manner. I had a hard time expressing that.
hmm.
Just like shoving my feelings towards aside and just like talk about what like the light heartedness of things, like being jokey and talk about them and like what's fun tonight.
Ah. So at what point do people get to know the real you?
I mean, my friends from high school definitely know me the best, but they know me for 15 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So they can see through that little facade. But more so lately, I mean, I kid you not, the day I turned 30 this year, I was like, I'm an adult now. And it wasn't a conscious decision. I just felt
No,
it.
no, no, you're not. You're not an adult yet.
No, no,
No.
no.
No, no.
I mean, it mentally was a change for me. Like I was done with the bullshit. I just wanted to like say what I actually felt, and it was kind of like a second or third puberty again, where I was just like shedding a new layer. And so I feel like now more than ever, people just see the real me for me.
Oh, that's nice to hear. That's nice
Yeah,
to hear.
I'm saying that sitting in full drag. Also, can you believe it? Oh, I'm not hiding anywhere.
But it's yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you don't really want
Yeah.
people to see the real you straight away, because that's gonna just terrify them and scare them away.
I think also like there is this is something that I've been battling a lot with like being your authentic self because
Uh-huh.
I didn't necessarily always like myself and I still
Yeah.
learn like daily how to appreciate myself and love myself. But I've always had this inner battle where I don't know if you can agree with this or also join me in a discussion.
Mhm.
But the problem I've had is the thing that I'm feeling inside of who I am versus who I'm presenting. Because the thing you're
Mm.
presenting to people can be altered. And I think a lot of people, some people do it less, some people do it
Ah.
more, alter themselves in ways to like make them perceived better or however they like. So that's what I had a biggest struggle with because if I just presented myself in a better light, then maybe I would believe in myself or become that person.
Yeah, yeah. Because there is also what we're told by like modern psychology that if you are giving yourself positive affirmations, if you are loving yourself and treating yourself in a certain way, then you will rewire your brain and start to believe those things that you're telling yourself. So if you're doing it in a performative way, does that still count? Maybe it doesn't though,
Exactly.
because you've still got that thing inside of being like, I am a piece of shit, but let's not let on that I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah, I agree what you're saying also. Like it's about rewiring the brain. It's not about tricking the brain.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people, especially me included, had that completely misunderstood. But it is a daily affirmation and reminder that you have to always remember that you are who you are and who you are matters. But it's hard to find that.
Yeah, 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 and it's really hard to maintain that as well when you have so many
Yeah.
external forces pulling you in different directions to be like, no, 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 this is who I am, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Until you just become a grumpy old man and then you're incapable of deviating from that.
But that's exactly the thing. I like, even if you're saying that you're a grumpy old man, like if, for instance, I am who I am and I love myself, but who I am is an asshole, like, you know what I mean? Because some people are just
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
blatantly, I'm a bitch, I keep it real. And it's like, well, it's not convenient for anybody else besides
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
So where is the line?
Well, absolutely.
Mm,
But and the thing that I struggle with the most is that when I'm being myself, some people find me really negative and like that I'm complaining a lot or that I'm seeing the glass half empty a lot of the time. And when
mhm.
I'm like talking about those things, I don't feel as though I'm being negative. I don't feel as though I'm like, oh, I'm bringing the mood down or anything. And I'm just being myself. But because I'm not like, wow, this is amazing. Look at this. This is great. This is fantastic. People are like, oh, you're a bit of a Debbie Downer. And then so it's like, well, do I be myself or do I not be myself? I'm not sure what to do here.
I mean, I think if you are the person who sees the glass half empty most of the time, I think it depends on what you do with that kind of mindset. I don't think that people are only one thing. Like me being, if I call myself a people pleaser, I'm not always having the best
Mm,
time of my life. I'm not always happy. So it's okay for people to change and have, you know what, today I'm not feeling so well. I see the glass half empty. Or maybe you have days when you feel like, oh my God, everything is actually really optimistic. And that's fine to have those kind of peaks and
mm,
valleys.
mm. I think, yeah, it's just that tricky thing of meeting new people, having to form opinions of them quickly, and that
Yeah.
sometimes just solidifying in people's minds and them never ever deviating from that once they've decided that you are this type of person.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing about humans, though. We're also like this messy balls of confusion and contradictions.
Yeah,
But we
man.
just don't accept that about ourselves. We just, yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. Now we're getting too far into it. So, Berlin, fresh, you were meeting people on Grinder, you were meeting people on Tinder. We should probably get to the space because we're quite far into the conversation.
Like 50 minutes in.
Do
But
you
it's the setup.
remember?
It's the setup.
Yeah, yeah, we're getting there. We're like building this slow
We're painting a
momentum.
picture.
Yeah, so you're living in a hostel. Do you remember what it was like going out on the queer scene in Berlin?
I remember definitely like the freedom that Berlin club scene offered. And I think especially when you're new to the city, it can be very overwhelming and exciting.
So, what do you mean by freedom?
It's more, I would say, less restricted when it comes to clubbing. I mean, back in my days, they didn't really have what they have now, which is like awareness teams, which is just people going around. They're not necessarily police or security. They're just
Uh-huh.
going around seeing if people are doing okay, if there's anything like somebody has overdosed on drugs, or if somebody is like being violent, or they're more like the cool
What do
moms.
they have those in every club?
And most clubs they have, yeah,
Oh,
most bigger clubs they
wow.
have.
Do they have like a tabard on or like a badge or a sash or something?
Usually they have a vest on that just says awareness.
Oh.
Because the thing what I noticed in the beginning when I moved to Berlin is that, of course, this is a huge party scene and a huge
Hmm.
party city, but a lot of people would do drugs, do too much, but they were too afraid to ask the bouncers because they didn't want to get kicked out or get into trouble.
Hmm.
So that's why people had unfortunate events happening. And then when we started seeing awareness teams, there was something that kind of made everything a little bit easier, I would say. It would allow the freedom and the less restriction of like having fun, but it was more done in a more controlled way, I would say.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good idea. But wow, what a thankless job they must have.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I know friends who have done awareness and they say also like it's like they get to go to a club for free. They get to like basically just hang out.
Wear a sexy vest.
It's sexy vest. They also get to see everything and they get to like engage in conversations that are not like mumbo jumbo on drugs. They just like, I'm just awareness. I just want to make sure you're fine. Boom. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you also get to insert yourself into people's drama. That would be exciting.
actually, yeah. I am aware of this drama.
Now, catch me up. What's happening? Who's got beef with who? How can I help?
Exactly.
Okay, okay. So it was overwhelming but exciting.
Yes, I would say. I was also in a stage of my life where I was drinking, and I had kind of recently around that age started discovering party drugs, and that was, I think, like a very overwhelming feeling when I went to Berlin. How easily accessible it was, and
Ah,
how freely we talk about this. So of course, like this became a whole this became a whole thing that I needed to deal with.
because you dove straight in.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I
Ah,
just moved to Berlin, and like once I had all the basicness of a living situation established with work, apartment, and visa and everything, then I was just wanted to have fun. I was like, I'm this new person. I live in Germany, and I'm gonna thug shit up, and that's just led to a series of partying, including at Greece-muller and a lot of other venues.
but I feel like you're not telling me the whole story here. Did it go too far, or are you just saying you got to a point where it felt unmanageable?
I think it went too far, but I didn't have a situation where I was ended up in hospital or I OD'd or anything. Thank God.
Yeah, yeah.
But I did have situations where, it's not by any means the most healthiest way to like spend your life.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
guess from the age of 23 up till maybe around like now that I just turned sober, I've always had a hard time doing it because I like it, and then doing it because I wanted an escape, and with those things.
But and so is the problem for you that you don't know how to moderate?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say. I never wanna be fucked up, and I never wanna be so, like, out of it. I just wanna have a break from myself and my
Yeah,
own
yeah.
mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What was the moment then when you were like, I maybe need to do something about this?
I've had a few of those moments. I mean, I drank alcohol alone is usually the first warning sign. Be
Hmm.
the first one who would like introduce drugs and like got late for work, and then I lost my keys, and like you started to become messy. So there was all of these factors. But I guess recently now it was I wasn't really doing that well this winter, just like personal drama things happening. So I started using like substances and alcohol to kind of numb everything.
Mm,
And it led to a smaller, I would say, intervention with my friends that I respect and love a lot. And I guess I had to just make a decision that like this is not working out for me. And my addiction is now becoming other people's problems when they get
yeah.
worried, so I have to manage it. So I've been sober ever since.
Oh. How do you feel about people congratulating you for soberness?
It was fun in the beginning because, in the first month or so, you feel like you've really accomplished something. But now, I mean, it's so embedded into my like daily routine that I just say no to any like offers. And I don't know. It's like I feel like it's nice if people congratulate me. It is like a constant like daily work thing that you have to like work
Mm-hmm.
on for yourself. But I also think like the more time that goes by, the more I realize that this is more of a problem rather than a solution. I can't escape. I mean, I moved to Berlin for escaping, and now I started using substances to escape. I can't really escape my own mind, so I just have to deal with it. And someone just told me also like being sober doesn't fix all your problems, but it's a great opportunity for you to explore that.
And are you exploring it?
Yeah, I would say so. There's a lot of weird things happening in my mind right now, but thank God I've like have a good support group of friends here. I go to meetings. I started sewing a lot, so I was just doing that instead, and dove myself in creatively. That's my new drug.
Amazing.
I think also like if you have any issues with like substances, I mean, the best thing to do is take a break from it and see how much of the aftermath really affects you. And I
Mm,
think based off of that, you can truly tell how much of it is becoming an addiction rather than just a Friday
an
night.
escape. And I would
Exactly.
say, and I'm sorry if this sounds patronizing to anyone, including you. is that when those weird thoughts come up in your brain and when you start seeing parts of yourself that you had previously been trying to escape, just be curious. And don't approach it with any judgment or shame or over analyzing of it. Just
Okay, now I'm
really
scared.
lean in. No, why am I scaring you? I'm trying to like, oh no. I'm trying to be like
I'm kidding.
supportive, but like just be curious about those thoughts. Just like try and like look at them really neutrally and think about why they're happening
Yeah,
and find ways to celebrate them. Unless it's thoughts about murdering people.
exactly.
Maybe find a way to divert that attention.
Be who you are, unless who you are sucks.
Yeah, that is a problem, isn't it? Mm, Okay, all right. So we were like nearly there, and then we went off on a different conversation. So let's get back there to I'm going to murder this. Greisse-muller.
Oh, that was so sexy when you said it, but it's Greece-muller.
Grease-muller. Grease.
Yeah,
Okay.
really good. Like Lady
Okay.
Gaga says, I don't speak German, but I can if you like.
Do you remember the first time you ever went there?
I did, yeah. So Greece-muller, for anybody who has been to Berlin or lives in Berlin, knows that it's no longer existing because of gentrification, and for
Boo.
good reasons, many would say as well.
Oh,
Because
yay.
this, I mean, yeah, I remember moving to Berlin and like I was like everything is so grungy and dirty and like it's such a cool place, especially from when you're in your 20s, to kind of just like play and party. And Griesmüller was definitely one of the clubs that I love the most. They used to have a party once a month called Cocktail de Amor or de Amore, but they had one of the best parties. The favorite kind of music, just Italo disco, funky music, is something that is very, very on a different level in Berlin with
Mhm.
DJing and clubs. But I remember going there for the first time. I was just so amazed with the people there and how like the drug culture was so open and how people were open and it was
Would
just
you to a bit more detail, the people
yeah.
there, why were they amazing?
When I come from Stockholm and Stockholm clubbing, I think like people aren't as friendly to you, and I guess that
Mm.
has to do with the drug culture as well. There was just more warmth to the people in the club that like
Ah,
you can
okay.
become friends with people really easily. I would say, or used to become friends with people really easily in clubs in Berlin.
Oh, okay, okay. So you were experiencing like an openness in the crowd.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. And in that club, I met many of my friends that I have today still. And through clubbing, I actually, well, besides Tinder and Grinder, when I moved here, clubbing was actually the best way to meet friends.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of friends that I met through clubbing.
How do you how do you approach people in clubs?
One thing I used to do was I didn't smoke back then, but I do now. But I would always have a lighter on me, so like because you can smoke inside in most clubs here. So people would ask me for a lighter, and I would give it to them and then initiate conversation.
Oh, wow! So you would bring a lighter even though you didn't smoke because it was a way in.
Yeah.
So what was the strike rate then? How many people who wanted a light from you ended up becoming your friend?
Well, I don't remember exactly. Well, I do remember because that was when I started smoking again, and I did a reverse thing. Even though I had a lighter, I asked people for a lighter. So I saw this really cute guy
Ah.
at Berghain, and I asked him for a lighter. So we shared a cigarette. 20 minutes later, we started having conversations, and then another person asked for a lighter, and I gave him a lighter, and he goes, "Well, I thought you didn't have a lighter," and I was like, "I just wanted to talk to you." But he's a really good friend of mine now. He's a really great photographer. He does most of my photos. So we work together creatively now.
Aw, aw,
Yeah.
what a nice story.
I think also the thing is, I've noticed there's a huge shift in like clubbing, especially in Berlin since COVID times. After our two lockdowns, we can definitely see that people are more. I don't really know if this specifically is because of like the virus or
Mhm.
people are more sanitary, but I think people are less approachable nowadays. I
Ah.
talk with a friend of mine about this a lot, and I think like a lot of people forget that like in order to have a good experience clubbing, you have to also contribute something to the party, whether it's like good personality,
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
like good dancer or whatever.
Or
It brings the
vibes.
mood up for everybody. Exactly. And that this goes out to a lot of people that have a hard time with like Berlin club culture, like they won't get into clubs or whatever. Usually, if the bouncer can tell that you know what party it is and you fit the vibe and you will bring something good to the party, you will have no problem. Like this whole thing about dressing in all black to go to Berghain, I wore fucking white trousers and like a leopard top and got in. I even came in with a shit stained shirt one time, and that's truth.
But like human shit.
Yes.
What?
Should we tell the story? This is one of my most disgusting. I mean, viewers' discretion is advised.
Oh,
Okay. So,
okay.
this friend that I met 2 days after moving to Berlin, Jaden, he had his birthday and we lived together. He is very artistic, and I had a white t shirt. He got some graffiti pens, and I said, "Can you just do some graffiti on a white t shirt?" He said, "Okay." And he wrote, "Sit on my face, bitch." And I thought, this is great. I'll wear this tonight. We went to a club. I was very drunk, and I went to the dark room. And in the dark room, they closed the club. I was still in the dark room. My friend comes in, other friend, with a flashlight. Said, "We're going to Berghain." And I said, "Okay." Grab my t-shirt, left, went in, got in, party for like 2 hours or something. People came up to me, said, "I love your shirt. Oh my god, that is so cute." And I'm like, "This is what I'm talking about. This is like the good vibes. It's just say you have a nice t-shirt. It brings up the mood for me for the entire night." Then we go smoking, and my friend who did the graffiti shirt said, "You have a stain like here, and also here, and also turn around here, and there's no mirrors in Berghain." So I didn't know how it looked like. And it was just human feces. And it wasn't mine.
Well, how do you know it wasn't yours?
Well, because it was across the room. I had just taken it off. I wasn't even like
Oh,
using it or whatever. It's like,
oh.
yeah,
Do you know, I think this is actually how the Cinderella story happened, and the prince didn't
it
find a
is.
shoe. He found his suit covered in shit. He did a DNA
Yes.
test, and then he went around the country looking for a match. And that's how Cinderella found her prince. Why didn't you do that?
It's true, but you know, in Iceland, they actually did an ancestry test from the feces, and it turns out they weren't related, and they lived happily ever after.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, oh,
yeah, not my
oh.
proudest moment, but that happened. But I'm better now.
Good, good, good. You're only going to wear clothes covered in urine. No more feces for
Exactly.
you.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, okay. Let's go back. We keep
Yes.
nearly getting there. And we were actually
Okay.
there, but then we went to Berghain for some reason. So, Greissmuller, oh God.
Greece-muller.
So it's like Greece, the country, and
Yep.
then Muller like yogurt. That's all I need to remember.
Yeah.
Greece-muller.
So
Okay.
think Greece, but like you want to like hurl a little bit. So
Yeah, okay.
Greece-muller. Exactly.
Greece-muller. So Greece-muller, why is that the special place that you wanted to talk about?
The reason why I wanted to talk about it was because it's the place where I had the most fun
Mhm.
when I moved to Berlin. I remember me and my really good friends talking about the summer of 2018 for both of us. She had moved from Hamburg to Berlin, I moved from Sweden, and we met there and we would go to this party, and it was just a really nice place to kind of discover Berlin and meet people. And I just remember having really good memories from that club.
Mm.
And as I said before, due to like safety hazards, like I mean, it wasn't the safest club at all. It was an adult playground. Like people, there were like blocks of wood with like rusty nails in them, and like a
Doing what?
tower. It was just a mess. It was a mess, but it was lovely. And like it was a tower outside where people would climb up, and upstairs they would have like a three-way, and someone was doing drugs in the corner. And it's like at night they would have a huge bonfire there. Like high and drunk people were just like flames of fire just staring at it. It was the most bizarre place I've ever been to, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah, Berlin is just not the same since people became safety conscious. What a shame.
Exactly. And also like gentrification, it's a lot, man.
Oh god, oh god, that sounds terrifying to me. Sorry to
It
like
was.
oh okay, good.
Oh,
And so when did it close? Like what happened to the place?
I think it closed in January 2019, I believe, or was it 2020 for COVID as well? I don't remember. They had been bought up by this company that wanted to build office spaces there.
Yeesh.
But it was on the verge of being sold for the longest time. It was a great little playground, but it was, yeah, it was a construction site at best.
Mhm. So do you remember hearing about it? That the sale had gone through and that it was going to close and like how did that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it was a big deal because it was talked about for the longest time, and every month there was like, "This is the last cocktail de amor party," and it was like, "This is your the last," and then it was actually the last party. Thank God I didn't go to it because there were so many people there apparently. And queuing in Berlin, it's inevitable. You're gonna queue for hours and hours
Oh,
and
it's
hours.
horrible. How do you deal? Oh, I
Yes,
hate it.
yeah, it's and that's also a great way to make friends in the line as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
It's
point.
true.
But I'm
Yeah.
just preoccupied with imagining the security guard's not going to let me in, so I can't relax.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I remember one point, I think it was for Snacks, and Snacks is like a really big gay party in Europe that they have twice a year. And I went to that, and I queued with my friends for 4 hours in the rain, but we got in.
Oh, okay. I thought that was going to end in a different way.
That's it. It has sometimes as well, and it has for some people too. But it's just what it is. There's always going to be another club to go to.
Yeah, but not that night because you've wasted the evening in a in a queue.
Another day, I don't know. I
Yeah,
To
yeah.
me, maybe it's just me being sober right now. I think like partying is not on the same high pedestal as it used to be. So when people ask me like, "Oh, how do you get into Berghain?" or "How do you do this?" "How was it with like going clubbing?" I don't really care too much anymore. And I think this hierarchy of like I've had great times in clubs, but I don't really think of it as like I have to come in and blah 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 blah. It's in this establishment.
No, 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 absolutely. Like, but if they're going to reject you from the club, they could do it as soon as you got there rather than after 4 hours of you waiting.
Yeah, that's true, but I mean, then it's your choice as well. It's wild though. I never queued for that long for anything in my life before.
No, yeah. So, coming to an end of our conversation, I want to get super cheesy
Mhm.
with you.
I'm lactose intolerant, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. I mean, I'm vegan, so like it's that
Oh,
fake
perfect. Yeah, soy.
rubbery soy cheese. Or maybe we can splurge on coconut cheese.
Ooh.
So, if you think back to that 23-year-old, that fresh transplant from Stockholm to Berlin, who is living in a hostel and hustling to get a job to sort themselves out. If you had an opportunity to give that person some advice, what would you say?
Oh, I remember when I moved to Berlin, I think the first day or so, I went to a group for Swedish people who also lived in Berlin, and I wanted to ask for
Oh,
advice. And I think one of my questions for them were, what is the like rookie mistake that you did moving here that I could avoid? Um, I think what I would say is just like the most obvious things, like practical stuff, like pay for your subway ticket. Even though you can go there for free, there's going to be controllers and you're going to be in big trouble.
oh, if you've never been to Berlin, dear listener, and you try and get on a train, it is the most stressful thing.
It really is. I ran away from a ticket controller once and I got hit by a bike. Karma's a bitch.
Instant karma, instant karma.
Instant karma.
Oh.
I mean, to be honest, and I hate to be like cheesy about it, because I wouldn't really change a lot of things or warn myself or tell myself a lot of things. I would probably just say like keep doing what you're doing and it's gonna work out anyways, even in ways you
Hmm.
don't feel like it might work out on. It's gonna work out. Like everything will be fine.
Hmm. All right, that is us for another week. If you loved this conversation and you want to find out more about Santana, then I encourage you to do so. You can find her on Instagram and TikTok at Santana Sexmachine, and I'll make sure that there are links in the show notes to this episode. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram at Lost Spaces Pod. And before I let you go, if you want to hear more conversations between me and Drag Race alumni, I will make sure that there are some links included in the show notes to this episode. Right. Thank you again for joining us. I will see you next week.